Picture a desert landscape with an eagle flying past. Meanwhile, there's soundtrack playing, music so epic but mysterious, you just know what you're about to see is significant. The eagle flies into a city, metropolis, cars everywhere, kids in the streets, a cute stray dog, and then you see reactors with a green, mysterious shine. Next, a beautiful flower girl going about her day, after which you get a shot of the whole city with the logo Final Fantasy VII Remake. And right after that, you meet the main character jumping off a train. You recognize both him and his sword. You've never played this game though. How could you not be intrigued and excited? Because that's how I felt. I'm CloudQ, and today I want to talk about how I fell in love with my favorite game of all time, Final Fantasy VII Remake. I want to talk about my journey with FF7 and share my perspective as someone who had never touched a Final Fantasy game before FF7 Remake. First, I will give broader context for what my journey with video games was and how it led me to FF7. I was a Call of Duty kid, but what do I mean by that? I did not spend my youth in COD lobbies getting slurs thrown at me, but I did play games like Call of Duty when I first started playing games. I played games that mainly focused around gameplay, playing the survival mode in Modern Warfare 3, playing racing games because they actually made those back then. Sure, I found myself also playing games that did have stories, like Uncharted or the Call of Duty campaign even, but I mainly played to play, and I loved the action of it. Somewhere along the lines, I found myself interested in horror games too, but mainly through watching them on YouTube. Games like Outlast, who definitely had a bigger focus on story than a lot of games I used to play. Perhaps watching games on YouTube was what got me more interested in the story part of games, since I literally just watched instead of playing myself. And that's also how I eventually came across one of my favorite games, Life is Strange. Now for me, this was the first game that was really just a story game. Sure, it does have gameplay, but that gameplay mainly consists of walking around while discovering the game world and talking to characters, with the occasional puzzle solving needed to progress. But really, the game was about its story, and it's a great story. This is what ignited the passion for one of my favorite genres of games, choice-based story games. Funnily, I haven't played any Telltale games as of writing this video, but back then I found games like Beyond Two Souls, or especially Until Dawn, because it combined horror and choices, which to me remains one of the coolest kind of horror games. And yeah, that was pretty much my vibe for a while. I love playing action-focused games, shooters like Call of Duty or Overwatch, and also had a big love for story-heavy games like Life is Strange, Until Dawn, or Detroit Become Human. And then I found Final Fantasy VII Remake. So, first off, I need to make a confession. Prior to this, there was one time where I actually had encountered a Final Fantasy game, and it was watching it on YouTube. And it was actually Final Fantasy VII. And it went like this. Young CloudQ had heard from this YouTuber that FF7 is their favorite game. Young CloudQ, which sounds like a rapper name, but it isn't, he saw, oh, this person has a let's play of it, I should check that out. Young CloudQ did not know that this game was made before he was born. So my young self was very disappointed with the visuals and probably the combat too. So I dropped it. Now before you judge me, keep watching and remember this encounter for later. When I saw FF7 Remake in my YouTube sub box, I had definitely forgotten I had ever watched the original games for a few minutes years prior. And I'm certain that those minutes were not even where I knew Cloud or the Buster Sword from. These two are just things you see because they're so iconic. I can legitimately remember that in school, whenever I drew swords, I drew them like the Buster Sword, just because that huge, unrealistic blade always seemed so badass to me. And Cloud? He's just one of those iconic characters that you've most likely seen somewhere at least once or twice, like Kratos, Solid Snake, Lara Croft, or Leon Kennedy. So, like I described, when I first clicked on the video to check out this new Let's Play, I was hooked, right from the beginning. I think evidence of how much the intro of this game stuck with me is that I wrote the intro from memory. I deliberately decided not to rewatch it because I knew I would remember every shot anyways. But it didn't end with the intro. The characters, their dialogue was amazing. I started bonding with the Avalanche trio right away, and even Cloud and Barret beefing with each other worked so well right from the get-go. But also, the combat. And while, remember, I was watching this on YouTube, I had never seen a game with combat that looked so freaking cool. Not just visually, it also seemed like such an interesting take on action combat. I had never really played a turn-based game, and it never really appealed to me too much. But bringing these command elements into an action game was amazing to me. Not to mention the whole materia system, which I had never seen either. This game looked like peak to me. And looking back at my history of gaming, perhaps this was the first game I played that really combined action combat and an amazing story and characters. It combined the fun of Overwatch with an amazing story like Life is Strange. So I watched the whole thing. Not at once, of course, but I watched it all, and in the end I was in love with this game. I never had issues of being too confused or not understanding references to the original. I think the game did a great job of explaining things and putting things into context. The end was amazing to me, and it was also a part of why I ended up loving this game. Yes, there was mystery, but nothing took my immersion or seemed out of place. Yes, you do in fact not need the original game to enjoy Remake, and I'm sure the same is true for Rebirth too. Pretty soon after that I managed to buy the game and I played through it myself. The combat was everything I had expected and hoped for while watching, and I dare say I pushed it to the limit, in a good way. Probably the competitive Overwatch player in me that wanted to master all these characters and their skills. I played the whole game, and then I did the New Game Plus in hard mode. And after getting my ass beat by a dog in chapter 3, I realized I would actually have to level my materia for hard mode. But eventually I got through the whole game, and I'm pretty sure I got myself the Plat trophy, which wasn't too hard in this game. But it was a journey. And all journeys have to come to an end. I had pretty much seen all there was to see in Remake, but I wanted more. And lucky for me, there was more. Accessible on like every platform imaginable, the original Final Fantasy VII. And that was the next part in my unknown journey. I played the original. I did some more research and now knew what to expect. And I was already in love with the characters and this world. So while I'm still not a fan of turn-based combat, and while I still like it when games look like they are from this century, I didn't mind either at all. Now, remember when I talked about my first real interaction with FF7? It was hard for this game, literally made before I was born, to grab my attention. As well as it did age, it did in fact age. OG FF7 is so charmful and beautiful in its own way. It just does not hold up that well when viewed through the perspective of gaming today. I can see that through nostalgia, this is still the best game ever, because it was that good in its time and a while after. But that's why, personally, unless you like retro games, I think FF7 Remake is the better introduction into FF7. Because after finding your way into this amazing game world through Remake, I think enjoying the original will be far more likely if you're a younger, more modern gamer like me. But enough of that. I just had to drop some Wallace wisdom on your ass. I played the original. And here's another aspect that I want to talk about. Spoilers. A lot of people think spoilers are this big bad that ruins things for you and that should be punishable by being thrown off a flight of stairs. And while that feeling is valid, hear me out. Before playing OG FF7, I knew both plot twists of the game. And spoiler alert, I knew of Aerith's death, and I did know that Cloud was not who he says he is. And you know what? It didn't ruin a thing. And I think if a story is well made and presented, then spoilers don't really matter as much. Sure, maybe it would have been even more impactful, but as I see it, a bad story doesn't become great just because it surprised you, and a good story doesn't become bad just because you got spoiled. This is Wallace Wisdom number 2. So yeah, I played the original. I loved it. I had a great time. It was amazing. It's a great game. But even that was over at some point. So, where did the unknown journey lead me next? It led to Advent Children. Advent Children, the Final Fantasy VII movie. This is an interesting one. Because while with FF7R I am convinced that it's objectively an amazing game, Advent Children, maybe not as much, but I still love it. I think Advent Children is a fan movie. Not made by fans, but made for fans. And maybe a little too much so, because I think the movie doesn't hold up as well as it could without the context of the game. And even with it, the writing is not the best work of these creators, but I do think they still nail these characters. They created something amazing for fans, and the movie is amazing to me. So yeah, I loved it. But with this one, I can see why some don't like it as much as I do. But come on, have you seen the fighting scenes? Or the fusion sword? So fucking fun. After this, I chose Depression, by which I mean I played Crisis Core. If you know the story of the original, you will most likely know the end of this game, as it is a prequel. Through its main character Zack Fair, it introduces a lot of new parts of Shinra that maybe OG purists may hate, but I think it added some great context and lore to the FF7 universe. Especially the fact that Sephiroth allegedly uses a bottle of hair conditioner per day. That's the lore we need. By the way, on that topic, I haven't talked about Sephiroth. Let's do that now. Sephiroth, my nemesis. I absolutely love to hate him. I think he is an amazing villain, and the story of Crisis Core just reaffirms that. Both the original and remake do such an amazing job of building his legend, in very different ways mind you, but each masterfully done. He's my favorite villain, and I really need to play through Ever Crisis to find out more about his backstory. Keep your enemies close and all that. That jerk. Now back to Crisis Core, which left me in a crisis, because I kid you not, the ending of that game is the most emotional ending in any game I've ever played. You can try to be prepared for what the game throws at you, but after the whole journey of Crisis Core with Zack, this game just breaks you. The gameplay is fun too. It has some unique systems relating to materia and a lot of combat side content. It's overall a fun time, and I can only recommend it to anyone who likes FF7. I never actually played Dirge of Cerberus, which is another FF7 game, and I don't have the biggest desire to. I know some of the lore, and I've watched a bunch of cutscenes. Perhaps the issue is also the limited availability of the game, but I've just never really played it. So besides that, there wasn't really much more to play. So I replayed Remake, and it was so cool. After going through all these other games of the FF7 compilation, there was so many little things you noticed while playing Remake. It was the same game I loved, but in a different lighting. It was amazing before, but now it was amazing in ways that I didn't even realize before. It was a blast, and for that reason, I can only recommend playing other FF7 games after Remake, and then going back to Remake. Now, before we move on, I want to talk about my favorite character from my favorite game, Cloud Strife. It's tough to put into words how this character has helped me find myself. That's why I'll try to keep it simple. I think Cloud is one of the best protagonists ever, and I really found myself in him, and I know I'm not alone in that. This connection has helped me accept myself and better myself every day, and for that especially, I want to thank the creators of FF7 and FF7 Remake as well as Rebirth for bringing this character to life. Thanks. You're hella amazing for that. Now then, that leads me to the most recent chapter in my FF7 journey, FF7 Rebirth. During the wait for Rebirth, I also played some other Final Fantasy games. I played through 15 and I played FF16 when it first came out. I also played FF7 Remake like 10 times over in total. Totally not excessive. You could say I was hyped for FF7 Rebirth. So with Rebirth being seemingly pretty divisive among the fanbase, despite being critically acclaimed, how did I like it? It was everything I hoped for and more. To me, this game was perfect, and here I want to yet again take a little detour of Wallace wisdom and talk about something dear to my heart. I think FF7 Rebirth is on the level of games like The Witcher 3 when it comes to quality. So why does the reception seem so much more negative? There's a few things, and perhaps the biggest is expectations. It is in fact a remake. The rebirth of a game that was already made but 28 years ago. So people will have expectations, and that's fine. Hell, I'm sure I had a bunch of expectations when waiting for Rebirth. But I always kept an open mind, especially while playing. And I think that's why I loved both Remake and Rebirth, including both endings, which are probably the most controversial part of each game. I didn't let a predetermined image of what I want the game to be cloud my eyes when playing through the game. I let the game lead me through a story of love, friendship, rebellion, regret, loss, and celebration of life. And it was amazing. I'm not even trying to say that having expectations towards something is bad. It's valid, it's understandable, but don't let these expectations ruin an amazing thing for you. And please, don't go online spreading toxicity and hate about it because of that. To put it in terms of cake, don't ruin the enjoyment of an amazing, tasty apple pie just because you were hoping or expecting chocolate pie. And don't run into the bakery screaming about how apple pie sucks, like some kind of Karen. Thanks. Now, here we are, over a year after the release of FF7 Rebirth. Remake and Rebirth are my favorite games of all time, and I'm certain that the development team is cooking with Part 3, and I'm sure I will absolutely love it. I hope you enjoyed hearing my perspective on these games that mean so much to me. I hope I was able to explain my love for them to you. If you have any thoughts, anything you want to ask me, or anything you want to get off your chest, feel free to leave a comment. If you want me to keep Yuffie from stealing all your materia tonight, then leave a like and subscribe. I'm CloudQ, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye for now.